Thank you very much. The chairman is on her way, and I'm sure the vice chair is coming also. We're going to go ahead and start the meeting. And we have a quorum. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Our General Counsel, will you go ahead and take us in?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So today we have budget work sessions. This is a continuation of our budget project where we are walking through every section in our budget. We are also live streaming for those who might be interested and not able to be here in the building. We have three areas: Chief Facilities and Chief Communications, and then the Chief of Staff and General Counsel will cover their areas. Let me also note that on the phone should be Board Member Gould, who will get here later, and Board Member Gallagher on the line, I'm told. I'm sorry, Gallo, I'm told they are on the line. Are you there? They're on standby, they told me. Let's go ahead and get started. Mr. Morris.
Okay. Thank you, Board, Superintendent. If you could turn to the Facility Services tab in your big budget book, we'll start from there. You might already be there. So here's a Facilities Services organizational chart. It includes all direct reports to the Chief Facilities Officer. We will be reviewing 15 separate department budgets within this division. First department, 6100, is a Chief Facilities Officer's budget. The positions are, of course, the chief, and then 7 support and 4 administrative positions, for a total of 12 positions in this department. The Chief Facilities Officer provides leadership and management responsibility for the Facilities Division. Management of the program development, including design, construction, and maintenance. Staff Attorney oversees real estate management, facilities planning, and facility use, as well as legal support to all facility services, including the construction program. The next department is 6105, Facilities Construction Department. That department has 3 support staff, 8 administrative staff. All of these positions are funded through the general fund. The Senior Facilities Executive Director, Construction and Capital Renewal, direct report to the CFO and responsible in his absence. Primary oversight of the design and construction departments. Lead oversight for the program management team, controls capital program, capital renewal, and FF&E. From April 2011 to 2020 now, the construction department has completed 107 capital projects totaling more than $2.4 billion and 192 capital renewal projects totaling almost $230 million. The next department is real estate management. That department has 1 support staff and 4 administrative staff. Again, funded through the general fund. The Director of Real Estate Management manages the real estate management staff to accomplish the district's objective, including acquiring real estate to support the 10-year CIP. They identify OCPS properties for potential sale as surplus properties and manage long-term facilities use and joint use agreements. The Real Estate Management Department manages real property site selection, evaluation, and acquisition to meet OCPS expansion needs. Next department, construction planning, 6131. Construction planning has 1 support staff and 1 administrative staff. The Senior Director of Construction Planning, Program Development, Planning, Design Oversight of the ESE Campus Consolidation. Program Development, Planning, and Design Oversight of 4 of the Orange Technical Colleges. And Magic Way Compound Master Plan. In other words, this planning department does special projects outside of our typical capital projects. The next department is 9720, which is facilities planning. It's 4 administrative staff. The senior administrator for facilities planning coordinates settlements and government approvals, future land use, zoning, site plans for existing and future school sites between OCPS and local municipalities. Liaison between OCPS and Orange County government for coordination of Development Review Committee, Planning and Zoning Commission, and the Board of County Commissioners to include ensuring school capacity is available for residential development proposals. Coordinates and updates for school impact fee studies. This department coordinates entitlements and government approvals such as future land use, zoning, and site plans for existing and future school sites. Next department is 6132, which is facilities maintenance. Maintenance Operations Department 6132 has 27 support staff, 6 administrative staff. Those positions are all funded through the general fund also. The Senior Facilities Director for Maintenance and Operation in this department manages, supervises the following departments: Custodial Services, District-wide and Portable Operations, Energy Advisors, and Maintenance. They serve on the Collection Leadership Bargaining Team and attends Orange Education Support Professionals Association meetings. The Maintenance Department is divided into 3 geographical maintenance areas and a locally centralized grounds department. Facilities maintenance measures their performance utilizing the benchmarks established by the Council of Great City Schools key performance indicators. The next department is Asset Protection, 6106. They have 2 support staff and 3 administrative staff. The Senior Facilities Manager for Asset Protection is responsible for planning, preparing, implementing budgets, as well as supervision related to district-wide security systems, which include projects and maintenance of systems. The department continues to oversee assess school safety, and is responsible for overseeing an enterprise-based asset protection program. Next department is 6901, which is Northwest Maintenance. You have 91 support staff and 5 administrative staff. The Senior Maintenance Manager is responsible for planning, preparing, implementing, and supervision of all operating costs related to maintenance. Next department is Maintenance Southeast, 6906. This department has 88 support staff and 5 administrative staff. The Senior Maintenance Manager, Maintenance Southeast, is responsible for planning, preparing, implementing, and supervision of all operating costs related to maintenance. Next department is Maintenance Northeast, 6905. They have 87 support staff and 5 administrative staff. The Senior Maintenance Manager for the Northeast is again responsible for planning, preparing, implementing, and supervision of all operating costs related to maintenance. Next department is Energy Advisors, 6133. There's 3 support staff and 5 administrative staff. The Maintenance Manager for Energy Advisors is responsible for directing the district's utility budget for the consumption of over $20 million in district-wide energy utilities and administer the district's energy incentive program. This department also manages the building automation system. And this department monitors and manages daily consumption district-wide. Utilities included under the department's responsibility are electric, potable water, irrigation, sewer, propane, and natural gas. The next department is Facility Use, 7009. This department has 4 support staff and 1 administrative staff, and is divided, those positions are divided in 2 from the general fund and 3 from that are grant funded. The Director of Facility Use staff, manages facility use staff that process facility use through the web and include agreements, invoices, and related correspondence. Next department is 6102, which is Custodial Services. $1,173 support staff, 9 administrative staff. The Director of Custodial Services is responsible for planning, preparing, implementing, supervision of budgets for all operating costs related to district-wide function of custodial services. This department is also responsible for keeping schools clean and sanitized. Next department is 6121, which is Grounds, Landscaping, and Pest Control. There's 87 support staff and 4 administrative staff. The Senior Maintenance Manager for Grounds, Landscaping, and Pest Control is responsible for planning, preparing, implementing, and supervision of all operating costs related to maintenance. Next department is Capital Renewal Portable Operations, 6128. There's 11 support staff and 10 administrative staff. The Senior Facilities Manager for District-Wide is responsible for planning, preparing, implementing budgets for multi-million-dollar district-wide capital improvement projects. The Senior Facilities Manager for Portable Operations is responsible for the planning, preparing, implementing budgets for all removal and leasing of the district's inventory for portable classrooms. The OCPS District-Wide Construction Department is responsible for processing and coordinating various types of work requests and projects from existing schools and ancillary facilities throughout the district. The Portable Operations Department provides classroom space for students where new school relief has not yet occurred or enrollment has exceeded district planned projections. The potential savings that we've looked at, facility use department, we've actually in the process of transitioning that department out of the district into privatization. That's ongoing right now. We started that at the first of this month. So we're in transition right now and meeting with all the stakeholders to, give them the heads up as far as contacts and their agreements that they would be going through at their schools. The summer 4-day work week, we've looked at all the costs associated with that. The LED lighting program is a cost savings issue as we're implementing programs in the schools. And then the solar energy, depending on the program, there's some payback when you start looking at solar energy and alternative energy consumption. So with that concludes my report.
All right, Dr. Jenkins, I see we have Board Member Karen Custodial. And if other board members go ahead and hit, and we will recognize you immediately following Board Member Dental.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for that presentation. I didn't realize that there were so many people involved in the facilities. Just my experience working in a school and with portables and with custodians and the maintenance staff, I know that we need them often. So I don't know where you would reduce positions. Also, I looked at, as you were beginning, the different departments, 6,100, the Chief Facilities Officer budget, the Facilities Services Construction, Facilities Services Real Estate Management, Facilities Construction Planning. You've been reducing the number of positions for the last 5 years. And then I see that our costs are increasing as we maintain more of the schools that we're building. But that makes sense to reduce those and put the positions where we need to keep our brand new schools and our renovated schools in good condition. Is the real estate attorney within that budget, or is she under the legal team?
They're in the facilities budget.
Okay.
Facilities Department division.
Is that in the first one? The 6,100?
Yeah.
Yes, Staff Attorney 3. I'm sorry. Staff Attorney 3.
I see, staff attorney 3.
74, the 7400 before, the last 7400.
Okay, and that's just one attorney, one position in there,
Yep.
okay. And does that position also have staff that assists in that legal position?
There's one support staff.
One support staff, okay, thank you.
Madam
Okay,
Chair.
Yes.
So, Member Castro-Dental, it's important to note, while she is housed there and works directly with facilities because the work is so voluminous, she's still tethered to our legal department. So she has support when necessary from the legal department here as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. Just a moment. The Energy Incentive Program, do all the schools participate in that? Do you know?
We try to get them all to participate. There's a program called Energy Star, and you may have seen it in some of your schools, but the energy advisors work with the schools to promote this Energy Star program. And it's, teaching the kids to turn off the lights and just do different things that they can do as students in the school, and then they get their star based on their consumption and stuff like that if it goes down. And we can control all that through our programs. So Yeah, they, I can't say it's for every school now, but they can work towards getting their Energy Star, which is a kind of like a little sticker thing that you put in the administrative office.
And then is that part of the rebate program, that if there's a
Mm.
rebate, or is that a separate program?
It's all part of that rebate program. We have several rebate programs going. We have, major rebate programs with like OUC, and then even on the recycling and stuff like that. So it all brings the students into the mindset of the conservation part. So they get rebates from their schools. We get rebates for our green schools, depending on, you know, what the principals implement as far as programs, like I say, keeping the schools clean and doing different things like that. So
Okay.
there's several different incentive programs for rebates.
So it's kind of voluntary, or whatever effort they want to put forth, they're the ones that receive the rebate at the school site, right?
Yeah, and
Okay.
then at the end, annually, they have a green school program to where they actually get, the schools themselves, depending on how they rate with their program, actually get cash incentives back into the school to use for whatever the school's needs are.
Okay. And one last question. I saw that we have 692 positions for custodians. Do we have, I know we have trouble filling bus driver positions. Do we have trouble filling custodian positions?
We do somewhat because of the competition with all the hotels and the service industries down. I Drive, for example, which is right in our backyard from a facility standpoint. With all the hotels that go up, they take, 100 right off the bat. And so there's competition out there for custodians.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
I want to make sure that you are covered on this section, so all hearts are satisfied with this section, Melissa. All righty. Oh, Ms. Gallo, has she texted you yet? Okay, we want to keep up with Ms. Gallo because I'm sure she will have one or two questions. I did have one question, probably Mr. Morris. This will probably go to the superintendent because of, and probably Mr. Well, not Scott Howard. Well, yeah, I guess with the well, let me just give it and then do it. On page 49, can you go back to that one for me? And it kind of goes along with Board Member Custodial was talking about. We're trying to save the money, the potential savings there. And I noticed that you mentioned the going into privatization. And I know that's always been a thing with this board, and not only with the board, but with the union and the board working together and our bargaining teams. So maybe Dr. Jenkins could let us know as a board where we stand there, because we do get feedback from them. I know they don't like us to privatize anything unless we could show where it's really going to help us, like several of the programs Dr. Jenkins brought in for us. Well, Kelly was one good thing for us, and I don't think they've failed us yet. I don't believe they've failed us yet. And then those teachers are free to go to those games and graduations and everything when they want to go, and they also are back in with Kelly. A lot of them have joined back with Kelly, and then they worked out their time there. So maybe Dr. Jenkins can answer that with the privatization, and how is that going with the union and the board, so that we as board members will not be caught when they hit us with that, because they're going to hit us with it, and we need to know what their pleasures are and what are their desires and where this board wants to go with that also. So Dr. Jenkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Happy to respond to that. So we have no plans for all-out privatization of any of our departments. This particular effort had 4 women initially. 2 of them retired. and so there were only two bodies left. So and one of them was a manager, I'm sorry. So we've already dealt with OS, but we were unable to manage the number of rentals we have of our schools. It was just starting to fall through the cracks, trying to manage it with the department with a temp and two individuals and one that was preparing to retire. So we dealt with OS before the one position that has already been determined where she can be placed in the district. And then the manager will have to manage this contract. It's someone who can keep up the hundreds of rentals we have, as opposed to trying to run it by a two-person shop, originally three-person shop. It's going to much more efficiently run all of our rental issues, including collecting in arrears when folks owe schools for their actual rentals. So it's a matter of efficiency, and OSPA was already in agreement that that one body was placed somewhere else. But I'm glad you brought that up. I don't want anyone to think we're considering large-scale outsourcing. That is not the case at all.
Right, and we really don't want to send that kind of message out there. All hearts are satisfied with Mr. Morris' report. Mr. Morris, we thank you for this very fine report that you presented to this board many, many, many times. And we've been through this book many, many, many times, and we really appreciate the tabs on the book today. All right, and Dr. Jenkins, we appreciate your staff doing that for us. At this particular time, Dr. Jenkins, will you introduce our next division?
Your Chief Communications Officer, Mr. Scott Howard, will take us through the next section of the board budget.
Thank you, Dr. Jenkins. Good evening, board members. I will also be referencing the budget detail binder at your places throughout my presentation. This document is available, since this is a communications division. It is available on the website throughout the year, as well as the budget summary. Would you please turn to the Chief of Communications tab in your budget book? It's past the detail school budgets and is the last division tab right in front of the categorical appropriation summary tab. It's about 55 pages from the back.
We have it, thank you.
Okay. Here is a communications division organizational chart that includes all direct reports to the Chief Communications Officer. We will be reviewing 7 separate departmental budgets within this division. The first budget we will look at is Department 9004, Chief Communications Office budget. That should be the first page after the Chief of Communications tab in your detailed budget binder. The budget includes myself and my assistant. The Chief Communications Office includes 2 positions in total, myself and my assistant. My assistant's position is funded by the general fund, and my position is funded by the general fund and partially funded by the Foundation for Orange County Public Schools. There are no grant-funded positions within this department. The discretionary dollars in this department support supplies and equipment for the department, printing costs, district professional association memberships with the association, with the Florida Association of School Administrators, as well as the Florida Education Legislative Liaisons, legislative lobbying costs, and professional development staff. This department is responsible for overseeing the internal and external communications functions of the district. In addition, we implement brand strategy and marketing to promote consistent messaging. The department works directly with our schools and principals in support of external and some internal communications. They also work with each of our divisions and departments to collaborate on ways we can reach broader audiences and more stakeholders through traditional and emerging communication technologies. Also oversees the lobbying efforts on behalf of the board. I also serve as the president of the Foundation for Orange County Public Schools and help to develop community outreach strategies with staff and work with the foundation board to secure outside philanthropic resources for our students. The next page under the Communications Division tab is the District Foundation. Here's the organizational chart that supports this function within the district. The positions highlighted in orange are part of the District Foundation's departmental budget. This department has a unique funding structure, which you'll see on the next slide. The District Foundation includes 8 positions in total: 2 support staff, and 6 administrative staff. The foundation reimburses the district in part or in whole for several administrative positions. Last year's reimbursement totaled $301,035. The net effect is that 5.87 of these positions are funded from the general fund and 2.13 positions are funded by the foundation. There are no positions within the department funded from grants. The foundation, however, does provide a grant to fund 2 Read to Succeed positions that reside within teaching and learning. Discretionary dollars within the budget support training for community outreach volunteers, site coordinators for additions volunteers, and partners in education. Mileage, some printing costs, some supplies, and equipment for staff and professional development of staff. It is important to note that the foundation raises most of its own operating dollars, including those needed to pay for 2 part-time consultants. The senior director is partially paid from the foundation, 2 administrators paid from the foundation as well, and as mentioned before, a portion of my salary is also paid by the foundation. The foundation pays for those 2 positions and the 2 part-time consultants. Next slide. Oh, you can go back one. I'm not there. As the district's sole designated direct support organization, the team is responsible for ensuring that the community's time, talent, and treasure are invested in student success. In addition, they ensure that individuals, corporations, foundations are thanked and kept informed of the positive impact their investments create for our students and teachers, which encourages continued and increasing investment. They work directly with our schools, principals, and district departments to engage volunteers, build partnerships with local businesses and nonprofit organizations, utilize innovative, effective fundraising tools and methods, serve as fiscal agent for more than 170 school and district funds, and provide guidance and training on ethical standards and best practices. In terms of cash alone, the foundation team raised $2.7 million for district priorities in 2018-19. That's a 39% increase since the team reorganized in July of 2016. This translates to better than $11 to 1 return on investment. In addition, the foundation team manages $1.4 million in school and district funds and 58,745 volunteers, 2,867 partners in education, and $3.4 million invested funds in 2018-19. Those are increases of 63%, 75%, 99%, and 110% respectively since 2016. The value of the 2018-19 volunteer time is calculated at $41.3 million. Our business partners provided an additional $5.7 million in value and in-kind support. When the value of volunteer time and business partner in-kind support are added to the $2.7 million in cash, the total return on investment for the board climbs potentially to $212 to 1 on the investment. That is, for every dollar the district invests in the foundation, the team brings in $212 back in value that we invest in our students' success. Next slide. The next page in your budget book is page 3, where you'll find the legislative and congressional budget. The Legislative and Congressional Relations Department budget, I should say, person, includes 0 support staff and 1 administrative staff that is funded from the general fund. The discretionary dollars in this budget support supplies, equipment for the department, printing costs, district professional associations such as the Florida Association of School Administrators, FASA, the Florida Association of Professional Lobbyists, FAPL, as well as the Florida Education Legislative Liaisons. Lobbying costs, travel, and professional development. The Director of Legislative and Congressional Relations advocates the board's legislative priorities in Tallahassee and DC. The department manages the legislative program, including all lobbying efforts, legislative meetings. He also provides support and regular legislative updates throughout the year for district stakeholders to help ensure that all interested parties have the most current knowledge of the happenings in Tallahassee during the legislative session. Excellent. The next page in your budget book is page 4, where you will find the Marketing and Events Department budget. The positions highlighted in orange are part of the Marketing and Events Departmental budget. The Marketing Events Department budget includes 4 support staff, 8 administrative staff, and they are all funded from the general fund. The discretionary dollars in this budget include dollars for supplies and equipment for staff, professional development, travel costs, costs associated with producing district publications such as the Orange Peel, Pocket Guides, annual reports, etc. Licenses also include ASCAP, Constant Contact, Creative Cloud, Shutterstock, etc. Kindergarten registration promos such as radio, spots, and association fees for NSPRA, AMA, Public Relations Society, etc. The Marketing and Events Department focuses on 4 areas of communication. Public Relations Office manages reputation of the OCPS brand using strict standards through award-winning graphics, print and web collateral design, as well as verbal and written communications. They write and edit speeches and scripts for the chair and superintendent. They write, design, publish the district's monthly employee newsletter, annual district publications, and district-level events and video scripts. They conduct internal and external district marketing campaigns, such as the 150th anniversary and annual kindergarten enrollment drives. Lastly, they manage the popular Leadership Orange community engagement program, now in its 10th year. The Events Office develops and produces high-quality, develops high-quality district events like Stellar and Retirement Celebration for employee recognition, State of the Schools and Hall of Fame for community engagement, plus 8 other events. And they have recently founded the District Events Council to share best practices and collaborate with other departments that stage events to elevate the standard in all OCPS events. The Web and Technology Services unit oversees and manages the district's website platform, training school website managers, and ensuring websites are ADA compliant, and that website managers use web tools available to them for optimum communication. Finally, there's a sales office that generates revenue from digital and print advertising, naming rights, apparel, licensing, email marketing, and event sponsorships. By June, the office will have netted $3 million since 2010. Much of the money goes back to the schools who are partners in the client relationships. Media relations. If you would turn to page 6 under the media relations budget, I will come back to the district information office budget since it falls under media relations and is not a separate department, even though it has a separate budget. The positions highlighted in orange are part of the media relations budget. Media relations department budget includes 1 support staff, 5 administrative staff, and they are all funded from the general fund. The discretionary dollars in this budget include dollars for supplies and equipment, for staff, professional development, periodicals, printing, temporary hourly staffing for district information office, licensing for media monitoring services. The Media Relations Department provides professional management of all media-related inquiries for the district, for the entire district. The department manages daily, national, state, and local media requests. The district receives an average of 1,500 to 2,000 media inquiries annually. The team also provides training and support to all schools and work locations to help protect the district's reputation and maintain public confidence. Please turn back to page 5 in your budget book where you will find the District Information Office departmental budget. The position is highlighted in orange is part of that budget. The District Information Office budget includes 3 support staff and 1 administrative staff that are all funded from the general fund. The discretionary dollars from the Media Relations Department covers costs and supplies and equipment for staff and professional development for the DIO staff. The District Information Office Department is the first point of contact for external and internal stakeholders at the district headquarters. The DIO team is primarily focused on customer relations and support. The team greets visitors, assists employees, provides information, and connects individuals in need of assistance to the department or person able to help. The department manages School Messenger, the Connect Orange message system, as well as the employee directory for the district. Please turn to the last page under Chief Communications tab in your budget book, page 8, where you will find Video Services Department budget. I'm going to skip over Community Resources budget on page 7 because, as you can see, it's been zeroed out because positions and discretionary funding are now reside within the Foundation's budget. The positions highlighted in orange are part of the Video Services Departmental budget. The Video Service Departmental budget includes 8 support staff and 1 administrative staff, and they are all funded from the general fund. The discretionary dollars in this budget include funds for supplies and equipment for staff, new equipment, along with repair and maintenance of current equipment for the department, and 1 vehicle that is used for providing support for schools and district events. The Video Services Department provides video and audio production expertise for division and technical assistance for schools within the district. The department manages video and audio productions, installation, and repair requests. The department is the sole support for facilities, design and build of new and renovated school TV production studios. They also provide training and support to all schools and work locations throughout the district to help ensure high-quality video productions. Next slide. That concludes my departmental, and now the AROI potential savings. We're going to look at 2 areas: video services, which would be the outsourcing of the school technical support and the facilities assistance on the design and build, and the support for when they design and build the renovated and newly built TV studios. And we're also going to look as far as the sales, advertising sales, to review the outsourcing and advertising of more of our sales and sponsorships for the district. So thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Superintendent.
Board member thus far. Ms. Gallo has texted and not. Okay, so we have board member Custodial.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you again for that overview. Can you explain the state matching program for the foundation?
Sure.
And if we benefit from that?
We benefit immensely, yes, Madam Chair. The state matching program through the consortium, through the legislature, will match us dollar for dollar for certain areas in which we invest through the foundation. So we've received in the mid $350,000 range in matching funds back to the district through that program, and we hope to continue that this year. We've been lobbying for that in Tallahassee this year as well.
All right, and then those dollars, do they stay within the foundation, or do they go to the general fund? They stay within the foundation?
They stay within the foundation, so we apply for those dollars in coordination with a program. For example, like Read to Succeed, we'll say that these dollars will go to support, so we're able to double or leverage the dollars that are invested in our Read to Succeed program and use some of those dollars for that purpose.
Okay.
Just an
I have
example.
another question.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the foundation, what is the biggest program or expense for the foundation?
The biggest, other than personnel?
Yes.
Yeah. Probably, and I would have to defer, and Debbie's here, I'd probably have to defer, the Read to Succeed program is probably one of our largest programs because it involves so many human resources. Yeah, Read to Succeed is the largest, and also the programs that the Winter Park Health Foundation provide through through their consortium schools, and then our teacher grant program is large, and that's also matched through the legislative match through the consortium. The
Okay.
grants are.
Okay,
Teacher grants.
thank you. I have another question. Okay. When you talked about the marketing and events budget, it brings in $3 million, I think you said?
Well,
Or
I'm
it
sorry.
did,
It's brought in $3 million since 2010 in outside sales, sponsorship.
Not annually.
Right, not annually, no.
okay, and when it does bring in extra money, does that go into the general fund? Or how are those dollars used?
No, those are set aside in a specific fund, usually to support events or initiatives. Some of that money now resides with the foundation and is invested through that process, and then is used back to support students and schools in different initiatives.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, did you see the administrative secretary when you came in? I'd like to make a point to let the record reflect that the chair did take her seat and reclaim the mic at 5:20. So you're on. I do have, Madam Chair, a couple of questions, okay? If they would go back to slide 63 for me, please, Mr. Scott Howard.
63.
And may I also take a point of personal privilege while I'm doing this? Of course. All of the marketing and events and the video and the operating budget and the going from the community resources to zeroing out and the media relations, the marketing, the district information office with under Dr. Mr. Blocker was kind of moving it all in, and Dr. Jenkins just wiped it all, swooped it up, and you all went with it. But our former chair of the board, and the former board member, Joey Cato, is in the audience. I would just like her to stand because she had a lot to do with all of this. It was under her gavel that we were able to roll some of these in. So if we could give her a hand for her hard work there. She worked extremely hard with the superintendent and this department to move from one thing. I always looked at it as it's always additions to me. That's all I remember. And Pam, will you just stand? That's all I remember is just additions. And Dr. Jenkins was the principal. Everything was additions, and it has just evolved. So I just wanted to say we've come a long way, baby. And I am very, very impressed with this. I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned you were talking about writing, and I know you probably didn't want to mention all of the things, but you write for so many. And I didn't want to leave out, I know you said you write for the chair and the superintendent, but I did want the people to know we are polished because your team polished us. You all write a lot for us. Even my script on Tuesday night was written by your staff, and I am very, very pleased. And they have done that for me for 20 years, and Joey and all of us. And I just wanted to give them a hand for doing it because it makes us look good. It makes us look good. Everything you write, Jason know how I love him. Now, Patty and Jason, they're really right, they can do that stuff for us. So I like that, but I know you only mentioned 2 people. So you might want to say, I don't know if you want to say and others or, you do a lot of writing. And we work you hard. So now, I just wanted to thank you for that. And that was on page 63 where you talked about the marketing strategy, also with Ms. Cato being in the audience and even with Bert Carrier. I have to give a dues to Bert because we didn't know what to do with advertising. anything like that. And then Joey and Dr. Jenkins, they just carried it on and came up with how we could really accomplish that. And then rolling, I need Orange County to know we never had a good relationship with the foundation board when I came on board in 2000. It was really very sour, and they thought that they, pretty much ruled the board and ruled us. There was no communication. Mr. Blocker tried his best. He talked to Dr. Jenkins when he gave her the gavel and let her know, but to see what you all have done. She had expertise in pulling together because she had traveled nationally and was able to pull everything together, and you all came up with so many wonderful ideas in your meeting and just have all these departments, which is just incredible. So I wanted to really thank you for that. Now, I always look at vacancies. If you go back to page 69 for me, please. I'm just curious about it. And I think it's either one before that one or the one after that. You had one with a vacancy, the senior manager video services. I know that your team is overworked. I think every board member up here realize how hard you all work because you really make us look good. And I do want to thank you for Joanna's program. It was, she may want to come in on that herself, but it was just incredible. And all of the programs, the Stella Awards have turned into you're better than the Academy Awards. I'm being honest with you. You're better than the Academy Awards and the Grammys, and just go on down the line. And I think every board member could do that. And under Dr. Jenkins and her staff leadership, the executive cabinet, you all have done a miraculous job. So just help me out with the senior manager position there. Is that just somebody that left and you're looking for someone, or we want the media to know if it's somebody who's good at that? It's a lot of work here to do. So can you just comment on that one for us? Because that's kind of strange, because I know Dr. Jenkins, if we ask her sometime for x-ray help, she does get that for us. So I just wanted to know. I know you were overworked, and we appreciate you so much. That doesn't mean you're going to get anybody, but I'm trying to help a little bit here. Okay.
Madam Chair, yes, I'd be happy to comment on that. And Nick Geary, who was worked for the school district for 36 years, retired. And so we're currently in the process of hiring his replacement, which is going to be hard, big shoes to fill. So hopefully we'll have that person in place, and we'll be able to introduce him or her to all of you very shortly.
All right. Thank you so very much for that, Madam Chair. Thank you.
We have Dr. Jenkins.
Member Gould would like to speak. She's online.
Thank you. So we'll take Member Gould's comments, and then we'll go to Member Lopez. Member Gould?
Good evening. I just wanted to put my 2 cents in as well. Mr. Howard, that was a great presentation. The dream of really aligning the foundation started a few years ago, and we truly see the benefit with the statistics that you wrap off about the increase in funding and even the programmatic support that came out in the questioning from Member Pastor. Just wanted to express my appreciation not only to you for being a partner in this, but also to Debbie Pedroza and the whole staff and the team as they came together under this one organization, which was a direction that
We missed the last part, I believe. Did you catch it?
the fact of leveraging all those great minds and great workforce together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Lopez?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also want to say thank you to the Department of Communications as well for providing talking points during conference or summits, and also when I have calls from the media. the reporter's call, and sometimes, we need more details because we're doing so much in Orange County Public Schools that we need to be in contact with the communication department to be very assertive in our communication. So I highly appreciate that. Also, with the Hispanic celebration, the bilingual support that I received from the department is amazing. And I also, identify Dr. Gordon, because I said, I just want to follow the same type of celebration that Dr. Gordon. And I was like, what did she do? So, okay, let's go that path. And I highly appreciate the organization, the structure, the talking points, everything that we did together. I highly appreciate that. And they are very organized, and they're very supportive. And, they keep us on track all the time. I highly appreciate that as well. And even the support when we have special events in our schools. I also have the bilingual support in my district. I have a lot of Hispanic community. So I do the event in English and Spanish, and I always have to call Lorena as well. So I highly appreciate Lorena Arias for her support. Also to guide us during the legislative meetings. It was amazing to have the conversations before we have the legislative meetings and have everything set with every legislator and senators as well. So I highly appreciate your work. Thank you so much. Community outreach, how can I tell you? You're amazing. Every single time I have to email them in Spanish or English, I also have a response. Thank you so much. I cannot identify everybody at this point because if not, I'm going to stay here. But everybody, they're doing an amazing job, and I highly appreciate the bilingual support in this matter as well.
Thank you. Thank you. It's hard. I just wanted to make a few comments, but it is hard to imagine what it was like before. I don't know. I can't imagine, frankly, coming into this role and not having the support that we've had from communications. So at every level. And I always say this, Scott in particular seems to know so much about just about every subject that it's been much easier to I think transition here because of the incredible support we've gotten from the whole team and I can name off every individual and the cooperative teamwork that we've enjoyed is second to none. So I want to say that. I do want to make one comment for anybody who could be listening. When it comes to writing, it's very valuable that we get talking points for events so that we're clear about what our role is in those events. I think probably most people know that I wander sometimes dramatically from those talking points. In fact, the other day at your event, you thought I was wandering from the talking points in the middle of my...
They changed it.
I know.
They had changed it.
Yeah. But in terms of writing letters and documents and emails, I do want people to know that in that area, I do my own writing. I do my own presentations, PowerPoint presentations, and so I just, in case anybody ever got one of those long letters from me, there's the reason why it's so long. Staff didn't write it. It would be much more succinct. But at the same time, as trivial as it might seem, being able to run those documents through communications to make sure that they're factual and that they're on point and to have the right tone is extremely valuable as well. So all the way around, I just can't imagine what it was like before, and I frankly wouldn't want to be here to know. So good to be here today. Let me recognize Member Cobert.
Matter of fact, Chair, that's what I wanted to speak to is the difference before and after the reorganization to put Mr. Howitt in charge of communications. So 5-6 years ago, when I was a parent and an advocate, one of the things that a lot of parents would talk about was the poor communication in their view and their perception. But when the superintendent reorganized and Mr. Howitt became in charge of communications, there was a marked difference. And it was one of my goals when I came in as a school board member because I knew that it was an issue. And I am telling you, within 6 months, when he was put in charge, I had parents coming to me saying, I don't know what the difference is, but there's a noticeable difference in the communication. It was more purposeful, intentional, wasn't so reactive. It was, it was proactive. And so that's made a big difference. in the confidence of the community in this school district. And as we're talking about a return on investment, what comes back in the additions, the partners in ed, the philanthropic work of the foundation, it more than pays for itself. It provides additional resources that we wouldn't have had. So I think you definitely are worth every penny. Thank you, Mr. Howitt.
And you're not getting a raise.
It's them. It's them. Really is.
Thanks, Scott. He just, for anybody who didn't hear, he was just saying it's the team. All right, we'll move on to our next report.
So the superintendent.
Dr. Jenkins?
Introduce.
Thank you. Chief of Staff Bridget Williams will cover, and then I believe General Counsel Amy Enville will bring up the rear with our legal department.
Please turn to the School Board tab in your budget detail book. Here is the Office of the School Board Members Organizational Chart. In addition to 8 board members, 3.5 senior specialist positions are covered in the general fund. There are 3 full-time senior specialists which provide support to 6 school board members, 1 administrative position that supports the chair and vice chair, which is covered under the superintendent's budget, and 1 part-time senior specialist which provides support to 1 board member. The Office of the School Board Members is the division that covers all board members and their senior specialists. 7 board members are elected from the single district in which they represent, where each must reside in that district, and 1 is elected countywide and serves as the chair of the school board. The board is responsible for setting policy and meeting requirements set by Florida legislator and State Board of Education rules. The senior specialists support the board members and manage the daily operations of the division. They assist the board members with coordinating special events that highlight the district's accomplishments and achievements, manages their calendars, and assists with setting up meetings with various internal and external stakeholders that are engaged and invested in the community, manages the board members' budget, and coordinates and plans for in and out of county travel, as well as for trainings and conferences. The discretionary funds are used to cover the costs of travel to trainings and conferences, such as the Council of Great City Schools, the National School Board Association, Florida School Board Association, as well as travel to Tallahassee to lobby on behalf of the students, parents, faculty, and staff of Orange County Public Schools. It is also used to cover the cost of funds that are donated from the school board members' budget to the schools that support high expectations for student learning, such as professional development opportunities and materials for teachers, STEM field trips for students, staff and students recognition, incentives for students, books for students to take home, additional literature for the media center, band instruments, uniforms, art supplies, as well as part-time personnel. Return on investment. The board will continue to monitor in and out of county travel based on Florida Statute 1001.39, which allows board members to be reimbursed travel expenses, as authorized in Section 112.061, which states that all travel outside of the district that exceeds 500 requires prior approval, and the public must have an opportunity to speak on the specific travel item. Once approved and attended, board members share best practices and provide updates to all board members and the public during scheduled board meetings. In addition, the board will also assess and evaluate how discretionary funds allocated can be used.
All right, thank you. Member Byrd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you just, so we have it on record, because there's a little bit of miscommunication in the community about this, can you clarify how the school board members' salaries are determined?
Sure.
Thank you.
Salary is basically based on the starting salary for teachers. I'm sorry.
Statutorily.
Statutorily correct, it is. Mm-hmm. Correct. Mm-hmm.
And it recently changed. It was a formula based on the size of the population in your district. And then they changed it to starting, it can't be above the starting salary
salary.
for a
teachers.
first-year teacher.
That is
So
correct.
that's what it's pegged to, mandated by the state statute.
Mhm.
Correct? If I'm not correct, okay. Speak now, forever hold your peace. Okay, thank you.
That's correct. Okay.
And is that all you had, member? Okay. And member, Dr. Jenkins? Anything? Okay. Oh, no.
We got
Yeah.
Yeah, we got number 4. I just
Oh,
had a
absolutely.
question on the discretionary funds.
Dr. Gordon?
Okay, thank you so very much for that great report of the discretionary funds. I can hear a lot of things in there that would give us leeway that would be able to help the students in our district
Yes,
and the schools within our district. Also, in the discretionary funds, I wanted, on the travel part for us, there's a law, and I just wanted to make it public record. The whole team left. We just gave them accolades, and they took out Scott. Where did they go to eat? They're gone.
Back to work.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, they have, you know what, that's right. They also have meetings tonight, too. They have, community meetings on the buildings of schools. Okay, can somebody explain that to the public with the Florida statute that we as board members now have to? We've always done it, but they made it a little clearer. Would you have that with you at this particular time? If not,
Sure,
I
can
know
read-
Mr. Howard is familiar with it,
I can
but I
read
don't know if you want to deal with it.
It
You
says-
have it, Dr. Bridget Williams?
State Statute 1001.39.
Yes,
which
the
allows
one you
board
have up on
members
the board.
to be reimbursed travel expenses as authorized in Section 112.061, which states that all travel outside of the district that exceeds 500 requires prior approval, and the public must have an opportunity to speak on the specific travel item.
And see, that didn't happen before. That was based on the superintendent and this board, and but we never did abuse it. I don't believe anybody has ever abused travel going any place. There have been some controversial issues of going to other meetings that did not have any board impact, and then there were no reports given. But I know that they are asking us now that it has to come before the board, and we've done it already through the chair and the superintendent. They have brought those trips before the board, and we do want the public to know, because I know somebody had requested records, thinking that I had a big budget, and they had requested, what's Kat Gordon's budget,
Yes.
out of my pocket. That's what my budget is. We're teachers. I think everybody pays something out of their pocket. So thank you for clearing that up. I just want the record to show that we are accountable up here, and even all of our travel is accountable.
Correct.
And that's all taken into consideration in Dr. Jenkins, and it is budgeted. And there are some trips that we take that does not come out of our budget. So, we just want to clear the air on that. All right, thank you so very much. And when we do go, we are representing, it's the board, and the board knows that we are representing them, because you just named the organizations, and you just named those organizations, and that's very important. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Madam
Absolutely.
Chair.
Dr. Castrodeno?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Williams, I have a question. Since this slide says AROI, potential savings, were there any ideas for finding savings with the travel, in and out of county travel, or our discretionary funds?
And I believe that would be a conversation, since this is your budget, to discuss
Okay.
on how that can happen.
So I think in a conversation I had with you, we talked about ways that we can still allow the board members to take necessary travel to the FSBA, but also if there are events outside or other conferences, that we limit the number of members that go, so that instead of 5 members going to the same conference, maybe 2, and they come back and bring back that information, or making more use of webinars or some other way to take advantage of those trainings.
That's correct.
And also the discretionary funds. I know that we have about $40,000 that each board member in discretionary funds each year, and that we use that bucket for our travel, and then whatever else we want to use that for.
Correct.
I don't know if this is a discussion now, but I would like to talk about that amount. Maybe that's an area that we can also reduce, because I know I've done certain things with different schools and teachers and professional development, but it's not anything that the school district couldn't also kind of absorb. So that's something I'm willing to discuss, our school board services and our discretionary.
Okay, if I can respond to that, as I understand that amount of money, and Member Gould is not with us, and I think we lost her on the line. I think it started when Member Gould became a board member and asked if she could hire a staff member to work with her, and I believe that that's how that original number was arrived at. Dr. Jenkins, am I right on that?
So that's close. I don't want to give all of that impetus to her. There was actually concern that both on the county commission and city commission, that individual members did have discretionary dollars provided so they could pick up projects in their particular areas. Member Gould asked for some time if there was a possibility of having full-time support, as they have at the county commission and at the city, I believe, sometimes even more than one person. So the real issue behind it was that the school board was doing less for our elected officials than other governmental entities were providing, both for staff support and for pet projects that they were allowed to use their dollars for much larger numbers than we were certainly even able to consider. The minimal that we put in place was in case you wanted a half-time person to create a full-time aide for you as well. But a large part of the discussion came from another board member who did not use her dollars toward a body. She was concerned that she couldn't do pet projects like her counterpart at the county commission, I believe.
All right, thank you, thank you. So speaking to that, when I first got on the county commission and realized that we had the ability, we hired 2 full-time staff that make substantially more probably than, certainly than we would be able to hire with the money that we have. There are some differences, but not that many differences between the jobs. And what I have found being here is that there is by the time you're done with emails and events, that there's very little time to conduct the kind of research that I think I need to do to be effective. I have a long list of policies that I had marked up before I took office that I saw issues with and wanted to bring them forward. I've been here a year, and Ms. Envel's been here for how many months now? And how many times have I mentioned I need to talk to you about that? And there is no time to get to that. And of course, the issue with HB 7103 has certainly added to that. So I think in order to do the job that I need to do, I can't speak for anybody else, that I need to bring, I had a part-time person. She took a full-time job. It's hard to find part-time people that want to stay part-time, but I need that assistance in order to do this job the way I need to be able to do the job, because I actually love working, so I'm working most weekends and I'm working in the evenings, but I'm still not keeping up. I'm just not keeping up. And our staff's wonderful, and they provide enormous support, but I'm still, I think that knowing what it's like to have a staff person there, and you've had that in the legislature, and knowing what it's like not to have that one person that makes sure all the balls stay in the air, keeps track of things, helps with communication, is very important. And having a part-time person who, you can't, because of the Sunshine Law, I've never quite understood the idea of sharing an aide, because an aide should be somebody that you can talk strategy and how you're going to deal with the next issue and what policies you want to change, and you should not be talking to that person if that person is also in aid to somebody else under the Sunshine Law. So for all these reasons, I came here thinking that what we really should have is one person devoted to each school board member rather than sharing. We're not there, but a reduction to this would be, quite frankly, problematic to me, and the tiny amount of money that we're going to save in the overall scheme of how effective I can be at my job, I don't think is a good trade-off, quite candidly. And then I would also say, if we're going to talk about, I don't go to a lot of conferences. I didn't go to a lot of conferences in my last 8 years at the county, went to very few. But as a new county commissioner, I went to a lot of conferences because it was a way to learn. And I learn a lot from the conferences I go to right now because I'm in the massive learning mode. And having a school board member, another school board member going and trying to come back and fill our brains with everything they learned, sitting in long sessions, I don't think that's going to work very well. And I think we would have a problem if we decided that only 3 people could go to a conference, and then we had to figure out which 3, and 4 of us want to go. So I know we're looking to save money. I think if we looked at how are we doing the same thing with our staff? Are we asking all the administration what conferences are they going to? Are they going to more than we're going to? If we want to do this to ourselves, then maybe we need to just do this organizationally if we're going to save any real money. But I think we need to be very careful because professional development is important, and the board needs that to be effective. So, again, I'm fiscally conservative. I think more conservative than most of you all on the board, but I also feel very strongly about the value that we get from the investment into ourselves. And so, for those reasons, I think that the budget we have is a minimal budget. But if board members do not feel, I have a bigger question about the decisions, and I don't understand this process, but how the decisions are made about how to spend the money. You know, that $40,000, and we put a lot of processes in place to make sure that there was a fair and equitable use, and there's probably that in here in Orange County Public Schools. I just don't know it yet. So this time I didn't see a need to change, other than I strongly believe we would all be better served if you all have the workload that I do, and my sense is you have every bit as much and probably a whole lot more, because you're responsible. You know, I get a lot of the same emails, but you're responsible to be at all your school events, and I think that's very demanding as well. So I think there would be benefit in us all having a full-time person, but if not, at least I would stay where we are. Any other comments on this? Yes, Member Coburn.
So I'll just chime in with my perspective on this. Over the years, I've consulted with a lot of school districts around the state who said, we want to know how you do it because our system is a mess. You know, each of us having an equal amount of funds that we can spend in a discretionary way, I think is a good idea, where other school districts have had one pot of money. So you might have one school board member spending $100,000 on her single member district, and another one there's only, you know, $10,000 left over. That's not good. So the way it's divided up equally is a positive thing. And then we all work in very different ways, where one might need an additional assistant to be able to duplicate themselves and be at a lot of community events and whatnot. Others might work in a different way. I did a press interview a couple of years ago about these funds, and was proud to say that, with the exception of the travel for conferences, for lobbying, whatnot, which for me was somewhere between 5 and 8% of my total budget, 100% of those dollars went back to my schools. The way I do it, and I think we would benefit from seeing how each of us work with these dollars, because I've never been privy to see how other school board members spend it, and I think we could learn from each other. For me, I look at myself as a liaison between my individual schools and the district, and advocating for what they need. So for me, those dollars are spent on things that there are no dollars from the district. If I can go into the superintendent and say, school ABC needs a new sound system, and they can provide that, that's great. But if there are no dollars for that, that's a place that I know that I can help. So I have provided professional development for schools where they had no budget for it, put in a playground, books, media center items, along field trips, long list. Orchestra, instruments, but I've used it for where dollars were not available for the district. So certainly go in and advocate for those dollars first. But it's a way to provide, because we are liaisons, you get to know your individual schools, the single member board members, single district board members do. And you can direct those funds for maximum potential and for each one of those schools. I did want to throw an idea out there, because where some might use every dollar, and I have most years used every dollar for my schools, made sure that it was all distributed to my schools. But then there have been times where there were some dollars left over. I would propose that if we have dollars left over, maybe they go into a common pot that can be used for district-wide projects. The Career Expo is a district-wide project. Some of the, Black History Month, some of those things that we do that might be to the benefit of the entire district. Gen Wow that Member Gould does benefits the entire district. So my proposal would be that if we don't spend our individual dollars, they go into a common fund that could be used for district projects. It's an idea to throw out.
Perfect timing. Dr. Gordon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When Dr. Bridget Williams spoke with us individually as board members, I know that she went through a lot of things with us and came up with a lot of ideas, and you could hear it in her report. And hearing you tonight, this is good, because you're going to have to figure out what becomes controversial is when Dr. Jenkins, and I didn't hear this in your report when we worked together, when I came on board, there were district staff members, and even Dr. Jenkins would say, Mr. Block would always say, check with staff and see if you could do that. And then Dr. Jenkins, I said, well, can we do this? She said, well, check with staff. But you know what? I don't even know. Our board services people, but they weren't the ones that we're talking about. I think they were talking about, Dr. Jenkins, the keeper. May I address the superintendent on this? I think the keeper of the books that knew the state laws. Even with this money, because coming out of our budget, it could not be spent on certain things. Even though when we approve it, and sign off on it and give them and say this board member could do that, which we knew sometime it was illegal. I don't want to say illegal, but it didn't sound quite right. We had to kind of talk them out of it. But staff had warned us. Staff would tell us, I don't think you can do that. You won't be able to do that. Well, number one, food, for example. Mm-hmm. You cannot, all of your food, even when Joanna was doing hers, she said, how am I going to do this? I said, you're going back into your community and get a Hispanic restaurant. And it was just one of the best ever. Okay, it was just, but see, if I went back into my community, y'all would have had chitlins and pig feed and hog maws, and then y'all wouldn't have wanted to eat that. So I had to stick with the district, okay? And that's why I wanted to blast you all out, and send you all with that good soul food. But that is what district said no. So maybe Dr. Jenkins can get with her staff, Madam Chair, and get her staff. They have always warned us what we can spend on to stay safe. Mm-hmm. And that's how I was trained. And that's how I know I could not go and just do certain things. And then there were questionable things, because this falls under general counsel. We don't want to sign off. Board Member Gould doesn't want to sign off. Colbert wouldn't want to sign off. Anybody coming up, and most of you will be coming up being vice chair, you may not want to sign off on it, because it's going to come back and reflect you, because they're going to ask you, well, why didn't you ask? You don't sign off on everything. You question it, and it goes legally. That's where the legal counsel has to come, and the legal counsel has to provide us a list. And I would constantly go into Frank and Woody and say, can we do this? And then they'll be, they'll cross and say, well, it's a red line. And I said, well, I'm not going to sign it. Then it has to go higher. and it ends up on the superintendent desk, and then that superintendent can make that judgment, and that relieves you of any legal boundaries of violating state laws on how to use state money. So that's my wisdom for you there. I do hope that that helps. So because you are going to run into controversial things. There's some things we're going to have to pay. Okay, the school, I'm going to just give you one, and I hope no one get angry. The board already belongs to, it's supposed to be, Dr. Jenkins is supposed to already be a part of the chamber. Well, if you want to use your money to be a part of the chamber, and the school board is already a part of the chamber, I don't know, that's a little controversial one to me. I'm just being honest, okay? Going off to the Republican convention, going off to the Democratic convention, going off to any other convention, I know, and any events that the Democrats and the Republicans, and I'm saying that the independent do, you cannot use school money to do that. I mean, I'm just saying it, but staff will let us know. You know, because you know when you get there and nobody's there but Republicans or nobody there but Democrat, and you've already used the board and then want me to sign off, I am not going to sign off legally. Ethically, it is wrong. And then you don't even bring back a report. I'm going to tell you something that was shared with me by both superintendents. Always put a report. It will cover you. You got BoardDocs. People could read where you've been. Then they can say, well, that had nothing to do with us. And I say another thing, if it's not those conferences she mailed out, and you're going to those conferences and you're not presenting about Orange County Public School, or you're not on the menu, then it's going to be pretty bad for you later on. And you better believe the district, people in the community is looking out at that. You cannot use school board money to go to your personal things that you want to build rapport with. You got to use your own personal money to do that. But I would love, Madam Chair, if you could get with the superintendent and those staff members that advised me for those 20 years, come together, that was legal counsel, and the financial staff that say you cannot do it. No, you cannot do it. They know, but nobody has given it to us in the orientation. Did anybody get it in the orientation? I don't think so, because you wouldn't have brought it to the board table today. So that's my piece on that, okay?
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. I
And
think
thank
that's
you.
an excellent suggestion. And the funds that we had in Orange County had to be, it was very specific. They had to be capital projects. And it was a certain amount of money. They had to be capital projects, and they had to go through a process to make sure that they were paying for something that met the criteria and wasn't already funded. So I'm not sure what the criteria is here, but I do think it would be good for all the school board members to know so that they know ahead of time. I completely agree with everything else that you said. And God, I was going to say, God forbid that anybody would use their funds for a political event. That's, I think, highly inappropriate. So, okay. Okay, completely agree with you. Dr. Custodial.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate my colleagues and your comments about the discretionary dollars. And I understand the benefit of helping out individual schools when they're in need and they don't have another way to get a sound system. I mean, I have many schools in need, I know. But we're asking every person in this room to look at their departments and their budgets and find money. And no matter how little it is, we're asking them to look very closely at every dollar they spend. And I think that we need to lead by example and also look at how we're spending it if it's not necessary for us to do our job. I understand having an assistant in order to do your job, and I know people think that this is a part-time job, but I can tell you it is a full-time job. And I understand the need for assistance with schedules and travel and emails and information. It is a lot to keep up with. But maybe we need to look at that staffing structure differently. I'm not sure what the answer is. I just know that I would like to see some kind of reduction in what we have, because I don't think it's fair to all the other departments when we're asking them to find the money, yet we won't look in our own bucket. So even if it's an amount that doesn't make a difference overall, I don't mind, but I don't, like I said, I don't think it's fair. And as far as working too hard, late in the night, going to events, that's what I signed up for. I know teachers were looking for money for salaries, and teachers are out there working 2 jobs, working late, working weekends as well. I think we're just going to keep doing our work, working hard, and it's not an easy job, and but I think we need to lead by example. Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Gordon?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, again. I love what Ms. Colbert stated earlier. You know, she did mention some ideas, and she mentioned about a pot, that if you have leftovers, because there were several of us that had leftovers, and we said, well, if somebody needed, and they got a project that they needed for. But let me do this. I really don't want us to make a big deal out of this, because we've only had this money under Dr. Jenkins. I served under Dr. Blocker. He didn't give us a dime. Okay, we didn't get nothing. We didn't get the. We went to Dr. Jenkins when she came in and said, listen, we're out in our community as professional elected official. Every elected official has little fund money. You gave it to your commissioners, you go in your district, and these are things that you could do. We know we couldn't get a large amount like what you distributed, Mayor Jacobs, when you sat in that chair. Then we looked at the 13 municipalities and what the mayors of those cities were giving. And they would give up to $200,000 and above. And then they would go, but they can buy food with it. And then there we were, they would come to our meetings, and we looked bad, but we didn't buy food, okay? But I don't want to do that. I hate doing that. I mean, Dr. Lawson and I would just, I'm being honest, with my district, when he was area soup, we spent quite a bit of money feeding our group, and nobody knew it. And then we got an anonymous donor. That's right, our own money, our own personal. And then we got an anonymous donor, and I'm going to just tell you who it is. She was just voted #1 in New York, and she's the chancellor, big time. She came in, and she would send us money, and somebody else came in and sent us money. And I thanked her the other day, last night, as a matter of fact. She sent me this article, Dr. Jenkins, where Dr. Betty Rosa, she just fell in love with this district because she saw we had a need. When Dr. Jenkins didn't want us, and it wasn't like a handout, she didn't want Dr. Lawson spending all the money he was spending, and I don't want to begin to tell you, hundreds of dollars. And then, well, it got into thousands, depending on the events. And we went to Dr. Jenkins when we all came together as a board, and we said, what can you do? She said, let me work it out. We didn't know we were going to get what we got. And then even Bill, after Bill got through, he was the 8th member on the board when he came on board. And he said, well, I didn't need mine. He said, you all represent your district. I'm the whole county. So then if you all need anything, see me. But then yet he would take most of his and spend it, I'm going to just be honest, and send it for the super scholars. But then look, we end up doing them at our beautiful high schools. Okay, we end up thousands of dollars. But he did mention if anybody need money from me. But what it was for us, we didn't want to go in our schools and see when Linda Colbert and I got together. And we know Oak Ridge is her feeder school. We know I have West Ridge. We have 2 major middle schools right on each other's doorstep. And we wanted to make sure that our band were furnished totally, even though they were given instrument, but the bands were growing. So we went to Dr. Jenkins, and she said, you're going to have this amount of money. You all decide what you're going to do. And they were so happy. This has really been a thing it's been a constant thing for us. So I don't want to see it go away. What I'm trying to do to begin to think, you don't want to get on the stage and see those students not performing in uniforms. You understand? You want to see them professionally dressed like they were with Joanna, you know, and even, I call the babies, Dr. Jenkins, those are her babies. You know, the Washington Shores and the Going Senate, I got to give them to her, those are hers. I would have loved to see them. They had on their little tight jeans last night, you know, but I would have loved to have seen my babies in performing outfits, and I could have made that difference for them. You understand what I'm saying? So you got to look at what you could do as a board member that will make you proud. Those green jackets, Jones students have been in there since Dr. Jenkins had been superintendent of this board. We invested in those green jackets. They were not allowed to take them. We put them in the cleaners, and those jackets have gone where, to Carnegie Hall, right? Okay. Now, and then Eccleston, they decided they wanted their whole faculty and staff. So they decided they would leave them for the new members, so they were always Shingle Creek. I can just go on and on. So you got to look at what pride you could bring. And having that extra, now if you all prefer me resending it, and we have the record to remove that, we can do that at our next board meeting, and then you all decide what you need to do. But it was just a token of kindness that the superintendent was able to maneuver that to make us really look super leaders, and then we can see when the kids are not dressed right. Even Mr. Morris, everybody would add in and say, well, now we need to go get them some T-shirts. When we dedicated Millennium, Mr. Morris looked at me, Dr. Jenkins looked at me, and the poor little children. When we did Eagle's Nest, they didn't have Ron Duval. They didn't have the shirts. He was so glad to take all the shirts off, and they washed them again, and the kids could go and get their size. See, you really don't know you got to know what's happening in your schools and know what they don't have. When you know what those kids have, you will not take that money lightly. You will not go buy a broom when Mr. Mars can give you a broom. You understand? There are people out there that could give you what you are buying, and that was where the controversial items came in, okay? So thank you so very much to let me, because I know that's heavy on your heart.
All right, thank you. We're gonna move on in just a minute here, but let me also mention that today every school board member has the flexibility to spend or not spend their funds without any change, and so I think we each have an opportunity to decide whether we're going to spend all or a portion of those funds and return the rest to the general budget. So that is an option for all of us today. I also, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that our budget was cut because I believe that the salaries of school board members decreased just this past year by approximately $4,000 or $5,000 a school board member, if I'm not mistaken. Am I correct? Yeah. Okay.
You're right.
Yeah. So absent doing anything, the legislature did provide some additional funding to the general fund from our budget by reducing the salaries of incoming school board members, or all school board members. So let us move on to our next item. And Ms. Williams, are you still on deck?
We are so close to being finished. Let me make one correction as well, in case
Please.
Former Chair Sublette is actually listening.
Probably is.
So his dollars went for the college fair, not for Super Scholar. For the college fair, which is something he wanted to pilot, and then we took that on at the district level, but that was a passion of his, so he used his dollars to invest in a trial run the first 2 years, I believe, for the college fair. All right, Dr. Williams, move on.
The Office of the Superintendent. Should be the next tab. And here is the superintendent's organizational chart. There are 4 administrative positions in the Office of the Superintendent, which are the superintendent, the executive manager to the superintendent, the school board services administrator, and 1 senior specialist. The superintendent is the educational leader and chief executive officer who promotes the success of the district's students and employees, fulfills state statutory requirements for the position, and partners with the school board to establish the vision and mission of the district. Discretionary funds cover the cost of travel, supplies, and membership dues, FADS, Orlando Economic Partnership, local chamber of commerce, etc. The superintendent's office will continue to monitor the cost of in and out-of-county travel and the senior specialist position as a potential savings. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? That was easy. Okay. All right. Thank you. And, pardon me? Last one? Okay, and let me mention before I call on Ms. Envald that I believe you're also going to give the budget presentation for Ms. Linda Lindsay. Is that correct? Just so everyone knows, Ms. Lindsay did not get notice that she was on the agenda until the last minute. I'm not sure exactly when she did, but by that time she had a prior commitment. She did want me to explain to the board that this is in no way because of her lack of interest or in any way meant as disrespect to the board. She would have been here had she gotten notice. So I also want to just clarify something that I think we all know, but sometimes gets overlooked. And we asked Ms. Envald to take over the administrative function of overseeing that, the auditor's position, but it is just administrative. It is approving travel and things like that. And in fact, that office reports to the board, and it does not report to Ms. Envald. I know she knows that, but I think sometimes in the communication, in the past, as I understand it, a lot of times communication has come to Woody and now coming to you regarding events like this and not directly to her. So I wanted to make sure that we've got that clear in the org chart and everybody's on the same page, that she's independent of Ms. Envald in that regard and works directly for the board, and as I think we all agree, has done a phenomenal job. So I wanted to just get that on the record because she was obviously would not have missed this and didn't have a chance to tell each of you how disappointed she was not to be here. So, Ms. Envald, but I know you will do a phenomenal job presenting this.
And I did work with her on this.
Thank you. Yeah.
Or collaborate a little bit. Okay, please turn to the District General Counsel tab in your budget detail book. We'll be reviewing two divisions in my portion of the presentation, 9011 and 8112, both of those. Here is the Office of Legal Services organizational chart that includes all the direct reports to the General Counsel. And you'll notice that Ms. Lindsay's is on the right-hand side, and we'll go over that when it comes to her, her department. In there, I have one general counsel, two assistant general counsels, associate general counsels, excuse me, two staff attorney 3s, one staff attorney 2, one staff attorney 1, and 2 administrators, and 3 support staff. In the next slide, you'll see that we have a total of 13 positions that are allocated in Office District General Counsel 9011, 3 support staff, 10 administrative staff. We have 1 position vacant that was vacated 2 or so years ago that has not yet been filled, and we're not looking at the moment. So all of those come from the general fund. And in the next slide, the goal of the Office of Legal Services is to provide proactive legal services to the school board, the superintendent, and district administration on all legal matters affecting the school district. As General Counsel, I assist the board in the legal performance of your duties and the fair and just discharge of such obligations to students, employees, and the public. The Office of Legal Services provides oversight of litigation, legal opinions, policy interpretation, and contract interpretation to ensure compliance with applicable federal and state laws, Department of Education rules, and regulations. And as General Counsel, I make legal assignments and monitor all legal work assigned to in-house attorneys and outside counsel. I don't have a lot of fluff and fun stuff to do, unfortunately. My position's a little bit different.
But you do have lots of words on
we
there.
do. always have lots of words.
Attorneys have lots of words.
As far as potential savings, the Office of Legal Services will continue to monitor the cost of in and out of county travel. For instance, we have a Florida School Board Attorneys Association tomorrow conference that's in Orlando. It's tomorrow and Saturday, so we are taking advantage of that because it's free to us, and it's also free continuing legal education credits for us. And because we cannot predict when the district will be brought into litigation, we will also continue to currently evaluate our methods by which we can reduce outside counsel costs.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions? Were you done? You were done?
Yes, I'm done.
Okay.
I'm
just
moving
quick
on
talk.
to the
Okay.
internal auditor.
Absolutely,
But if you
please.
want questions about our
No,
office.
no questions.
Okay. So moving on to district internal auditor. Please turn to the district internal auditor page, which is Department 8112. On this slide, you will go ahead and see the organizational chart for the district internal auditor. And in accordance with section 1001.4212L, Florida statutes, though the district internal auditor reports to the general counsel administratively, that she also reports to the audit committee and the school board, and that you can direct her actions. So, moving on to the staff there are 7 positions in total, and they are all administrative, and they are all funded through the general fund. The goal of the school board internal auditor is to enhance the district's performance and accountability by promoting an economical, efficient, and effective environment based on sound and practical internal controls through audit recommendations. The school board internal auditor and her staff maintain independence and objectivity in appearance and in fact with those entities that are audited. They develop and customize basic individual audit plans and programs to identify key risks and controls. They analyze and appraise the efficiency and effectiveness of business processes, assist in developing findings and proposing recommendations that deal with root causes of issues and impact to the district based on evaluations conducted, and offer alternatives where appropriate, and assess and consider the potential for fraud risk and identify common types of fraud associated with the organization and with a particular internal audit engagement. The cost savings that we can offer here, the operational budget has remained pretty stagnant for many years in the Office of Internal Audit, but we will continue to monitor the costs of in-county travel there and out of.
All right, Member Custodial.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question about going back to the general counsel budget. I see the budget for the in-house attorneys and staff. Which of those figures accounts for the work we use for contract attorneys, or is that in the budget here, the amount of money that we would use for? Is that under purchase services?
Yes.
Okay, so purchase services for this year is, for those outside counsel, is $345,000?
Yes.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
And those are going to vary every year depending on what
cases?
stage of litigation we're in, right?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right. Dr. Jenkins, do we have anything else for the board? All right. With that, thank you very much for the excellent presentations today, and the ones I missed, I know were outstanding as well. And if we have any members on the phone still with us, we are now adjourned.